We now have absolute, undeniable proof of a government conspiracy. The government is 100% lying to you. Host Gary here with Paramount. We got a lot to cover today. Look, the reason there's always going to be a bunch of government conspiracy theories is because there are layers upon layers upon layers of government conspiracies, period. There is. That absolutely does happen. Sometimes we see some obvious, proof of that. Sometimes our intuition just tells us the people that we're watching on the screen are lying to us. They are not describing events as they actually unfolded. And it's our job, U.S. citizens, we the people, to hold them accountable and to make sure that we can do everything that we can to make them stop lying to us, because they do. And there is an agenda, without a doubt, with every single event that takes place in this country and in the world for that matter. Our government and the political party that is most tightly aligned with them at the moment, the Democrat Party, they are all really good at capitalizing on those events and reformulating the optics to point and push toward a certain narrative, which ultimately leads to a certain agenda. And we need to be very aware of what is going on with that. So today I'm going to show you undeniable proof. There is 100%, the government is lying to you, and there is a conspiracy around the events that took place, during the Trump assassination attempt. So just within a couple of hours after the assassination attempt took place, we immediately heard that the shooter, Thomas Crooks, was a registered Republican, and that was all over the news. We heard all over Twitter and everywhere else that there was another crazy MAGA Republican that just so happened to be so crazy that he tried to kill Donald Trump. The only time he's actually donated money, which tells me more about your political affiliation than any sort of voter registration. When he was 17 years old, he donated $15 to Act Blue. This is a left-wing PAC. Matter of fact, when we go to the official Act Blue page, look what we get. Donate to elect Kamala Harris and support Democrats nationwide. And we go to another one of their pages. We have $14 billion raised for 100% left-wing Democrat socialist causes since 2004. $15 of that, at minimum, by the way, came from Thomas Crooks. And then all we have to do is go to the headlines of NPR, which is, a state-ran media source, where we have social media account with extremist comments could be tied to Trump gunman. FBI says testifies in front of Congress. Well, let's hear what the Deputy Director of the FBI, Paul Abbate, had to say, sworn under oath, testifying to Congress.
Something just very recently uncovered that I want to share is a social media account which is believed to be associated with the shooter in about the 2019-2020 timeframe. There were over 700 comments posted from this account. Some of these comments, if ultimately attributable to the shooter, appear to reflect anti-Semitic and anti-immigration themes, to espouse political violence, and are described as extreme in nature. While the investigative team is still working to verify this account to determine if it did in fact belong to the shooter, we believe it important to share and note it today, particularly given the general absence of other information to date from social media and other sources of information that reflect on the shooter's potential motive and mindset. These are the facts, in part, that the investigation has revealed to date. While the shooter is dead, our work is very much ongoing and urgent.
So there you go. That is the FBI Deputy Director's sworn testimony. The man that has more evidence on all of this, he didn't share it with you, keep that in mind, but that is a sworn testimony to Congress that so far, the information that they've received on his social media accounts suggests that he is a right-wing extremist, that he has anti-immigration and anti-Semitic tendencies and beliefs. That is what he's telling you to your face, the American people. He doesn't show the evidence. And not only do we have a right-wing extremist, we know that he used the dreaded AR-15. Instead of taking the FBI's Deputy Director's sworn testimony at face value, let's look at the actual evidence that was provided to the FBI and see if we can assess for ourselves if we would come to a similar conclusion as the FBI director. If there's any possibility, if there's any ambiguity of whether or not this guy was a left wing, a right wing, whatever. Luckily, Andrew Torba, the CEO of Gab, made this evidence that they shared with the FBI public. Let's take a look at what that actually says. So in this very first post, he's providing statistical proof that, basically Biden won. In the second post, he's talking about immigration. He's basically saying, hey, with this executive order, they are no longer illegal immigrants. They're now legal immigrants because of an executive order. That is not how executive orders work. That's not how the U.S. law works, but, I digress. In the third post, he's arguing for COVID lockdowns. He's basically saying, hey, the COVID lockdown saved your life. On this other post in the same day in 2021, he's basically saying, hey, the actions that Biden are taking would in no way decrease the effectiveness of Border Patrol, and it will not make the borders any less safe. Well, that was in 2021. I think we know what the ultimate outcome of that was. And you can read the final post that gives us any information, but basically saying that Trump has never done anything, or the GOP has never done anything that the left wanted to begin with. I don't know that that's true. The GOP is always helping the left, but that's another topic for another time. And of course, after watching the FBI Deputy Director's sworn testimony, Andrew Torba had to set the record straight. He says, breaking, the FBI is now claiming that Trump shooter Thomas Matthew Crooks had an unspecified social media account in 2019-2020 when he was 15 years old that posted anti-immigrant and anti-Semitic content. This is not consistent with Gab's understanding of the shooter's motives based on the emergency disclosure request we received from the FBI last week for the Gab account Epic Microwave, which based on the content of the EDR, the FBI appeared to think belonged to Thomas Crooks. Many, particularly regime media reporters, have doubted Gab's claims that the request existed. Normally, we don't confirm the existence or content of law enforcement communications. In this instance, we had to make the exception due to the overwhelming public interest in disclosure and transparency. As a courtesy to law enforcement, we're not going to post the entire request. This is the first page of that request. The story is this: the account which data was requested was unequivocally pro-Biden, and in particular, pro-Biden's immigration policy. To the best of Gab's knowledge, as of 2021, Crooks was a pro-lockdown, pro-immigrant, left-wing Joe Biden supporter. In a follow-up post, Andrew Torba, the CEO of Gab, which, by the way, if you're on X, formerly known as Twitter, I highly suggest you go follow him. But he stated, you watched a regime hoax be dismantled in real time. Their plan was to paint Crooks as a far-right extremist and scapegoat Gab in the process. Thanks to our quick action and your help getting the word out, we stopped that from happening. All glory to God. So this is what we're dealing with. We have a government official, the government official that's investigating this, that is lying to you. He was hoping that this evidence wouldn't come out. He was hoping that the CEO of Gab wouldn't expose him for the absolute liar that he is. He should be in jail right now for lying to you, the American people, but of course he's not. Let's take a step back and analyze what's going on. We have a Democrat Party and the U.S. government aligning to do everything that they can to take your firearms away from you, to take your Second Amendment rights away from you, to take away any sort of fighting rifle like the AR-15 or other assault rifles, because they don't want you to be armed. An armed populace, as our founders understood, is the last thing that any government that is planning to force its people to do things that they don't want to do, that's the last thing they want. And that's why they don't want you to have an AR-15. If we have an armed government ruling over unarmed citizens, we don't have a government of, for, and by the people. We have a government that is set up to dominate the people. That's not how this works. The only thing that keeps the government in check, the only thing that's going to keep the government equal to the American people, which is exactly how our founders set up the United States to work, is making sure that every single person, or as many people as want to, are actually armed, so that they can fend off a tyrannical government. That's exactly what the Second Amendment was for. That's why it was established. There is no clause that says, hey, the government should be able to have access to these types of weapons and the U.S. population should have access to, flintlock muskets. Let's just quit playing that game altogether. The entire point of the Second Amendment is to ensure that we, the American people, can keep the government in check, and they do not like that. They do not like the Second Amendment. The Democratic Party doesn't like the Second Amendment because the only way that they can force socialism and communism upon you is through force. That's it. And they don't want force met with force. It's as simple as that. That's the game that they're playing. They can pretend all these other things. They're going to decry, security, safety. Folks, safety at the expense of liberty is slavery. You better remember that. And again, what we see, we know for a fact now that the U.S. government is lying to you. There is a conspiracy. And the conspiracy is to take every single one of these events and turn it into an opportunity for them to grab more power, to take your guns. We saw that after Las Vegas. Even Trump was unfortunately tricked into that. He did the bump stock ban, which has now been ruled unconstitutional. But the point is, that is their intent, and we need to see it. We need to see it for the long game that it is, because that is how the left is winning, and the government, who is completely aligned with the left right now, they're winning through incrementalism. One little step, a little bit of erosion at a time, and then the next thing you know, they're in control of everything. You're wearing masks. You're taking whatever medicines they tell you to take. You don't have a job. You own nothing, and you will be happy, or we will imprison or kill you.